Good evening, guys. How are we this evening? Welcome to our Wellbeing and Psychological Performance for Startup and Founders and Investors workshop. We're very fortunate to be joined by UKAT's London Clinic this evening, who will be presenting this workshop. So before we begin, we'll tell you a bit more about the Entrepreneurs Collective. We're the UK's #1 startup investor community, and we host a lot of events throughout the year, notably workshops, socials, amongst large scale pitch events. We also host member lunches where our members have the opportunity to network with investors and other founders. And we also have a range of different series. The female founders, we have fintech and AI specific events, amongst other verticals such as fashion, travel, and ESG. So we do offer our members a range of benefits, such as access to workshops such as this, our pitch competition. We have fundraising assistance with our sister company, Alto Capital, amongst other benefits such as credits and Bohurst reports and whatnot. And now, without further ado, I will be presenting the UKAT Clinic. They have been established in 2014. They're a trusted name and regulated by the Care Quality Commission, dedicated to your well-being, of course, provided they provide a range of comprehensive services, which do include addiction recovery, mental health support, psychiatric assessments, and they do have a community-based bespoke health center where they look after general mental health and addictions, based off of Harley Street. And this evening, we're very lucky to be joined by Jagoda, Perzanowska, and Fernandes, who will be presenting. So without further ado, Jagoda basically manages the London Clinic, where she combines therapeutic expertise with entrepreneurial flair, of course, to elevate mental health care. She specializes in interpersonal group therapy, with a diverse background in managing group therapies with various settings, to launching tech businesses. We also have Fernandes with us, with an extensive background in psychology, addiction counseling, and complementary therapies. He has worked globally in the mental health and with mental health and addiction since 2001, with a very diverse career. This evening we've got Michael Blakely with us, who will be joining us. He's ECG's founder.
Good evening, everyone. Hi. I just thought I'd pop my head in and say hi. I'm really excited to have the guys doing this presentation today. I think mental health is one of those areas for founders that is really overlooked. But, as many of us know who have been on this journey, your mental health is super important, because being a founder is tough. Starting a business, it's a lot of pressure. It's very different from being in corporate life. You've got the pressure of making payroll, of fundraising, of, having to continuously evolve. And you're always being kicked or you're always having to pick yourself back up when you hit the inevitable walls that you come across. But that's really why, we've started this series with the UKAT London Clinic, because really we want to do more for founders. So we're super excited to have both Jagoda and Lee with us, so experts in their field who can really sort of give us some insights on how you can really look after yourself in this space. So thank you very much, Louis. I know that the guys will be taking questions, so feel free to put some questions into the chat group. But super excited to have this session, so feel free to interact with them. And we'll be pop some details about the clinic in the chat as well. Over to you, Jagoda.
Hi. Thank you, Michael.
Hello, Michael.
Yeah, hi. So, yeah, I'm the clinic manager in the just off Harley Street. The clinic is kind of a new. So my name is Jagoda. So I've been in the field for quite a while now, but maybe
I'll start.
Yeah, Lee will start a bit about himself. He's my lead therapist in the clinic, so the main guy.
The main dude. So hello, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. My name is Lee Fernandes. I'm the lead therapist at UKAT London Clinic. So I'm a mental health coach and addiction coach and therapist. And I started off my journey in South Africa, actually lecturing in universities for a period of time, where I finished a bachelor's degree in business and an honors degree in psychology. I then started volunteering at a treatment center for mental health and addiction, running groups for about 4 years. And then I came over to the UK to complete a master's in addiction psychology and counseling. And while I was doing that degree, I worked at a mental health and addiction treatment center in South London. That was just for men, which was very interesting. A lot of support for people in the UK. And then I moved to a methadone clinic and mental health and addiction clinic in Slough. I was in Brixton Prison for about a year, in another treatment center in North London to support people with mental health and addiction. And then I was at Brunel University, where I worked as a mental health advisor for a number of years, which was very rewarding. Students, I found a very good and a very nourishing experience to support students. Since 2016, 2017, I've had my own private practice as a mental health therapist and a coach, where I've seen clients from a variety of different backgrounds. And I've also worked with some very high-end treatment centers in Switzerland. I've worked all over the world. I've been in North America, I've been in Saudi Arabia and in Europe. And, I've worked with a variety of clients. So from people on the streets without any teeth, that was some of my clients, to people in prison, to individuals who are entrepreneurs, billionaires, so a wide variety of individuals, worldwide. So that brings me to why a lot of people ask me, Lee, why would you want to work in mental health and addiction? Because it's quite a challenging field. So that comes from my own personal experience. I'm from South Africa originally, and I was a very good rugby player. I played to a very high standard, and there was an opportunity for me to progress, and become a professional. And the second to last year, the last year of my schooling, me and my brother were on a bus coming down from Cape Town to Durban. And that bus went over a 3-story bridge, and there were 44 on the bus, 14 died, and my brother was one of them. And he passed away, sitting next to me. So from that experience, I found it very difficult to deal with that experience. I broke my back in 2 places. I crushed vertebrae, I broke my hands, and I got extremely depressed the last year of school, and I was very anxious and really, really angry and resentful, and I started using narcotics and alcohol to cope with all that stuff. You think it's working, but it doesn't really work, in the long term. Anyway, eventually when I was 25, so this is a long time ago, 25, I realized that, that's not what I wanted to do, and I wanted to do something else with my life. And when I was in the treatment center, I was finishing my bachelor's of commerce, and they actually let me out to finish the last exam. And it was during that period of time, I just thought, I want to use this experience. Like, people helped me to help other people, because I know what it's like, and I don't believe that there are no lost cases, with mental health and addiction. So I did a second and third of psychology, that honors degree, and then Yeah, and then I finished that master's degree in the UK. So, I really enjoy what I do. I feel very privileged to be with individuals who have such a difficult time. And, there's always hope, when people have these afflictions, so to speak. And there's a lot of growth. So that's me.
Right.
Yeah.
So, well, my background is, I started in philosophy. I wanted to be a philosopher. So I've studied, done a degree, then the master's, and then I thought, I just have a gap year. So I came to England, and that was 20 years ago. So I requalified, studied postgraduate psychology, and then I went also similar to Lee in terms of addiction in a criminal justice service. So that's where I started really my work as a therapist. However, I had a burnout, I don't know, 10 years into my career. It was just too much things happening. So I had a burnout, I left the field. And then kind of similar to you guys, I'm not comparing, but I had a little business in kind of a tech venture, very small, venture, but I enjoyed it. But I'm kind of probably can identify with certain struggles, what you're going through. And then year before last, I had a kind of a personal experience. I was sailing across the Atlantic, and I had this epiphany that I want to come back to the field. So I would come back to this project, which was kind of a new. So UKAT, we're working for the company is called UKAT, which stands for UK Addiction Treatment Centres. It's one of the biggest, actually, definitely the biggest in the UK, one of the largest in Europe in terms of residential treatments. However, this clinic opened a year ago. And the whole idea was to bring kind of a new ways of, let alone new research to the field. We're looking for a new innovative ways of how can we help people with mental health problems and addiction. So we're catering for general mental health. We've got psychiatrists, psychotherapists, but we're trying to be quite different. So we're offering a ketamine treatment. We're offering RTMS, which is a transcranial magnetic stimulation on your brain for any people with a resisted depression syndrome. So we're trying to be completely new and person-centered. So what we're trying to be, any client, we're treating as a, person-centered treatment. So we kind of reviewing every case individually. So we kind of design bespoke treatment for most of our clients in here. So everyone comes in, has got a very thorough assessment with a psychiatrist, and then we kind of designing appropriate treatment for everyone. So we also have a one-to-ones. We can have a one-to-one with Lee if you would like to. But we have an array of different treatment programs, and hopefully, if you enjoy this session, you can have a little taster towards the end. But I think we're going to start our presentation.
Yes, yeah.
Because we've been asked to present this, psychological well-being and performance for you guys. And the way we're thinking, how can we present to you, or give you something that you can take away after quite a bit, it's a short session in a way, talking about psychological mental health, because it's such a big subject, where do you start? So I thought I'd start with myself, really, because this morning, especially, we had a bit of a short notice, to be honest, to prepare everything. So for me, I've been living with anxiety. So I can tell you this morning, I've been very anxious. And anxiety with me, I recognize, a bit shaky hands. I can feel in my stomach. I cannot collect too many thoughts. So I do live with anxiety. And it's quite profound to me, affected me throughout my life through different ways. And quite often it gives me kind of energy, or freezes me. So it depends on the situation and depends when I was in my life. I've been dealing with anxiety in a different way. So if I stop you here, I want you to be, have a think, is what's happened now? I've just gave you a bit of myself, that's a self-awareness. And I think any kind of a psychological help or tool that I can give you, we believe that it starts with you guys. So the self-awareness is kind of looking at yourself and having dictionary and be, an ability to present, what's happening inside you. I want to start with this sentence from Rumi. Yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise, so I am changing myself. And that's probably when you have to start. Hopefully, you can understand the self-awareness is not just, I'm thinking that, that's why I am here. This is something, is a skill and is a practice. And we're going to show you maybe different ways of how can you improve self-awareness. Next slide.
Sorry.
So if you look at the definition, so self-awareness refers to the ability to recognize and understand one's own thoughts, feelings, motives, and behaviors. It involves being mindful of how your actions and emotions impact yourself and others. Right? So self-awareness, I think we're good now with the presentation.
We're just trying to
Trying to find the best way to present.
Trying to see things. I can't see something.
You have to bear with us. As I said, my anxiety has been high.
No,
and this
we can see.
Thank you.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, so self-awareness. So what it is really, how can we improve even, and why self-aware people, perform better? There's lots of studies being done now, and one of them, is obviously those days everything has to be scientifically proven in psychology. Psychology is doing constantly certain research to prove there is a science in a way. That's the whole thing. So there's been obviously study done with the techniques, neuroimaging techniques, fMRI, shows that self-awareness involves activation of specific brain regions, especially the prefrontal cortex. I'm sure you're aware this is the part of our brain that is responsible for the higher functioning. So it's associated with higher order cognitive functions, emotional regulation, and introspection. So I hope you can understand that, if you look at yourself and understand yourself better, then you kind of practicing empathy. Empathy is something that develops later in life. And some people are more empathetic to others. However, I think it's something that you can practice. The more time you spend on yourself and understand yourself, the better you're going to be with others. So in a way, if you're talking about your employees, about any business, any people around you, you start with yourself. And if you improve yourself, if you're able to identify your weaknesses in a way, like my anxiety, and I'm open about that, and it's in a way I know it's my flaws, but at the same time I'm fully aware that if I've got tasks to do, I will be energized. It will give me that extra kick that I probably won't sleep because I'll be nervous and anxious. But what self-awareness does, if you can see on the slide, improves emotional regulation. So self-aware individuals are better able to recognize and regulate their emotions. So I won't change my anxiety, but I can work with it, And some people obviously might have a high level of stress. Any kind of a heightened emotion sometimes will take you off the track. So it's not about changing them, but it's about, it's that awareness. I'm fully aware that I'm gonna be stressed. It's like how you're gonna then, manage the situation. If you're self-aware, you can enhance interpersonal relationships. As I said previously, if I'm aware and I've got the vocabulary about myself, I know I'm emotional, I know I'm stressed and nervous and anxious, then I will probably look at the others and think, yeah, you might be in a similar situation. So that, exchange is improved. In terms of the leadership effectiveness, I think, leaders, what it says here, leaders who demonstrate self-awareness are perceived as more authentic or trustworthy. And I think, well, I'm hoping that I'm being seen like that. But it's just, if I come to work and I share how I feel, I'm creating the culture, It shows that I am, I'm real and I'm just a normal human that's got some flaws. And that creates, is an exchange again. So people will trust me more. But at the same time, I'm creating a culture that people will be feeling, safe to be exposed and vulnerable. Quite often we're thinking vulnerability is something that I should hide. But actually, it shows that, you can be brave to share those things. And also, self-aware people will better at decision making. So better self-awareness enables individuals to make more informed and rational decisions by considering their own biases, values, and long-term goals. Yeah, which I think is self-explanatory. So how can you guys improve it? How can you be better at, that self-awareness? Mindfulness practices. I'm pretty sure everyone now goes either to some yoga classes or have something. So meditation, deep breathing exercises, mindfulness-based stress reduction. So any kind of a mindful exercise that you might be already doing, it will definitely improve your self-awareness. And we're going to be talking about mindfulness in depth, hopefully practice as well. So feedback and reflection, which I kind of mentioned already. If I talk to people about how I'm feeling and, reflect about this, like I do about my anxiety, and I talk, like today I've been talking all day. Lee's been practicing on me his mindfulness skills, and it definitely improved, so it's like, it's not going to go away, but I'm improving myself, and I'm fully open about, my anxiety. Also, you can have a look at the personality assessments, and that's more for yourself as well as maybe your employees. So if you're thinking about, you can have a look at online later on, those type of tools, you can kind of find out if you're introverted or extroverted or people outgoing. So you kind of know who you are in a way, psychologically, and then you know what's good for you. If you're more introverted, like probably I am, but I am good with researching and finding, studying, maybe not talking as much, and public situations probably not best for me. But, I know about this, so I can do something. So it's good to kind of have an idea of who you are. And maybe even, I know that I used in certain HR departments, to find out what kind of people work with you. So that's this one. And I think I will hand on to Lee now.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Jagoda. So Jagoda was speaking about being self-aware, and part of self-awareness is being mindful. So mindfulness is the basic human ability to be fully present, aware of where we are and what we're doing, and not overly reactive or overwhelmed by things going on around us. So, we live in the society at the moment, which is, it's quite instant. You want something, you can find, it gets delivered. And my experience of being on this planet, being a human being, and the people I work with, is that it's quite easy to be distracted and not present. We have these wonderful phones, which are great, and they support us with lots of different things.
Yeah.
But they can be a bit mindless, and we use them to distract and to feel different. You get a hit of dopamine every time you scroll. And when we start doing things like that, we can become a bit more reactive to the outside world and more overwhelmed with what's going on, instead of being present and have confidence in ourselves that we can move forward. So I'm just going to share with you a quote by Viktor Frankl. So between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is the power to choose that response. And in that response lies our growth and our freedom. So if you don't know who Viktor Frankl was, he was a psychologist, and he was in Auschwitz. They killed, I think, everyone, except his sister. And he said, sometimes, that he was in a line and people would say left, right, and he was going left, and they were going to kill the people on the right. And he said sometimes, the guards would beat him on numerous occasions, but he said that they couldn't take away his right to choose what was going on for him in that given time. So he could have been on a beach and, chilling out, and he said that was that right to choose, that gave him his freedom and his growth. And the thing with mindfulness practice is that we have the stimulus and the response, and there's a gap there. And what mindfulness does, it actually makes the gap bigger. So instead of reacting, we actually learn to respond and deal with things in a more productive and manageable way. So we continue. So some of the benefits so mindfulness and meditation, they've been around for quite a long time now. and they've done a lot of studies now. So they've done a lot of research, and they actually can see what's going on in the brain. We'll have a look at that a bit later. But some of the benefits that they say are about reducing stress. So when you get in a mindful state, your brain works in 4 different brain waves. So we have beta, alpha, theta, and delta, if you can see my hands. So beta is when you're quite stressed. So we all know what that feels like. Busy, doing this, doing that, whatever else. And the brain wave is quite busy. It's like that, you know. When it goes to alpha, it becomes a bit flatter. And then theta and delta, it's when you're on your way to sleep and unconscious. So when you do mindfulness practices, it actually calms the brain down to that second one, which is alpha. Because it does that, it can enhance performance. You know, they've done a lot of studies of CEOs in America, for instance, and they found that the people who make the best decisions are when they're in that alpha state, when they're a bit calm and more relaxed. Because of what mindfulness does to the brain, it increases insight and awareness by observing your own mind. You know, a lot of times people will do things and they don't know what happened because their brain gets flooded. And what happens over a period of time with the mindfulness practice is that you can actually start recognizing what's going on and see the thoughts and the feeling and feel the feeling instead of reacting to what's going on. And with the practice, it increases our attention. And they found that individuals who do a mindfulness practice on a regular basis, they actually start becoming concerned for others as well, and not just themselves. So obviously it helps themselves and their well-being, and it supports other people in their well-being as well. So that's some of the benefits. So because it's been around for such a long period of time, they've actually seen changes in the brain with individuals who have done mindfulness or meditation practice. So there's something called the amygdala. It's in the brain somewhere just behind the frontal cortex. And the amygdala is to do with your fight, flight, freeze, and fawn response, which I'll go into a little bit later. So if we feel like we're in danger, the amygdala will get triggered, and we'll do one of those 4 behaviors. So what they found is that the amygdala, the gray matter in the amygdala, with people who do a mindfulness practice or meditation, it actually becomes smaller. And also the connection between the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex becomes actually weaker. So what will happen is something happens in the external environment, the amygdala gets triggered, remember, because it's there to protect us. And then normally, instead of reacting, that little connection becomes weaker, so we actually respond. So they talk about that stimulus and response, it actually does get bigger. Then they've seen people who do mindfulness or meditation, they find that the prefrontal cortex, which is a very important part of our brain, it's to do with planning, decision-making, problem-solving, awareness, and also helping us regulate our emotions. This becomes thicker. And then there's something called the hippocampus, which is also in the brain, and that is to do with learning and memory. So just say we have an experience, we get a little bit triggered, and because we're doing this mindfulness practice for a period of time, we deal with it in a more productive and a better way. Then what happens is the hippocampus actually makes a memory about that, and it says, oh, remember last time this happened, you dealt with it in a better way, you can deal with it in a better way now as well. So there are a lot of very positive things that occur with the brain, with people who do mindfulness and meditation practices. So if we're not mindful, and you know, we can get burnt out, which happens with a lot of us. You know, even in the industry I'm in, you know, I work in mental health and addiction. You get a lot of individuals who get something called compassion fatigue, because they've been helping a bit too much, not looking after themselves. So burnout is a state of complete physical, mental, and emotional exhaustion. It's when you're just done. So some of the signs of burnout are obviously exhaustion. You'll find individuals will become very cynical, very negative, become a little bit more callous about what's going on. It might be about their colleagues. It could be about someone not doing something correct. It could be about themselves. There's a lot of apathy that happens with people with burnout. They feel useless, helpless. They feel very lost and very hopeless, actually. And one thing individuals do, unfortunately, is instead of seeking support when they're burnt out, they normally withdraw. they isolate, they can be quite responsible, like this is my problem. I'm going to do what I need to do. I'll sort it out. And they can take on some negative coping skills. So a lot of individuals I work with, they start drinking alcohol, they're doing cocaine, it might be into some sex stuff, gambling, shopping, whatever they do is they're trying to get away from those uncomfortable feelings that they have at that time. And with all that can become a lot of detachment. You're not really connecting with your colleagues, with yourself. You're quite run down. You start getting very doubtful about your performance. And then obviously, you get poor performance at your work. So these are some of the, a lot of us, I'm sure, can say some of those somewhere along the line, but it's when they come in a group over a long period of time, you will get burnout. And then possible causes of burnout, lack of control. A lot of individuals, if they feel like they don't have any control about their work or what they have to do, that can cause burnout. Having a difficult, environment, you've got to work with Jagoda. And I must say, Jagoda does a lot to make sure the environment is very person and people centered, with us and our clients, and it makes a big difference because I enjoy coming to work. If there's any issue, it's very open, we can talk about it, we can deal with whatever's going on, and we're very much a team here, which I really appreciate. If individuals have too little, they're understimulated, and obviously too much work, they're overstimulated, and this is a big cause of burnout. This I find a lot with a number of my clients, especially the entrepreneurs and the business people, the CEOs, is challenges with the work-life balance. You want to be a success, whatever that means to you. Normally my entrepreneurs, they're about creating something, but they also have a family life, they have their health, they might have a wife or husband, whatever's going on, they've got kids, and to find that balance is very, very challenging for them. Lack of support. Sometimes when you're at the top, you feel like it's just you, and you can also withdraw and feel like you have to know the answers. I'm the entrepreneur. I'm this person. I need to know what's going on. And honestly, we don't. We can look for support. Feeling undervalued is a big one, and a lack of clarity, and also work expectations. Maybe you're getting conflicting work expectations from two different people or from the same manager. Maybe your manager's a bit stressed out as well, and they're exhausted. So there are a lot of possible causes of burnout at work. So we've looked at the mindfulness. We've looked at burnout, what causes it, what's going on with that. So people don't think that stress and burnout have a big impact, in the UK, but research tells us that sick days taken due to stress and burnout, it costs us £28 billion a year. And that's quite a big chunk. I think our GDP is like 2.2 trillion and something like that. So 28 billion is quite a big chunk. And sick days taken due to stress, burnout, and mental health challenges, it costs us 23.3 million sick days in our productivity every year, which is quite substantial. So this is what I wanted to get to, just about the brain and the fight or flight response, which causes the stress. So beforehand, we were hunters and gatherers in our traditional roles. The men were the hunters traditionally, and the women were the gatherers. And the men would go out, and they would go, fight and get some food. And what happened was the fight or flight response was really important with that, because they'd see a lion or a tiger wherever you were in part of the world, and you would run. So it senses danger. The amygdala, it starts pumping adrenaline and other things into your body. The blood flows from the external to the internal, into your lungs, and it gives you the information and the energy to flee.
So release adrenaline.
It releases adrenaline, yeah. So it's the fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. So obviously the fight is when you stay and you fight. The flight is when you run. The freeze is when you really stop, dead in your tracks. And the fawn is when you have the fight, and freeze a number of times, and then you actually start being complicit with someone. So just say you're at school, you're a kid, someone's bullying you, they're taking money from you all the time, you haven't told anyone. What will happen over a period of time is they'll come to you one time, they'll say, give me money. You'll say, yeah, okay, I'll give you money because I don't get beaten up and hurt. And then they'll say, do you have any more money? And you'll say, yeah, I got some at home. And you'll say, go get it. You'll say, okay, I'll go get it. and then I'll come back. So you start actually people pleasing and being complicit in what's going on.
Mm.
So back in the day, we had this fight, flight, freeze, you know, and fawn response, which was triggered by the amygdala. So obviously we don't live in the bush now, you know, we don't go, you know, fight and kill for our food, you know, someone else does it for us, you know. But today the fight or flight response happens with our emotions such as stress, fear, anxiety, aggression, and anger. And obviously if we're in a work environment, there's a lot of stress, there is sometimes fear, there is anxiety, you know, and people do get angry. Okay.
So I think we wanted to give you
Oh yes.
a little bit of a skill practice. So if you wouldn't mind, obviously you can participate or not, or you can take it. It's gonna take a few minutes.
Yeah, just a couple of minutes.
Couple minutes. Lee's gonna present you with a little mindfulness exercise. So please participate or just watch and enjoy.
So if you can close your eyes if you'd like to, put your feet on the floor, and then with your back straight, and then I'd like you just to take a nice deep breath and exhale. Take a nice deep breath and just become aware of the sounds around you in your room, wherever you are. And exhale. And bring your attention to your feet. Your feet will be in some shoes, some sandals, maybe they're bare feet. And just become aware of the sensation of your feet, maybe on the floor or in the shoes. And what is it like for you? Maybe it's hot, or cold, or warm. Just bring attention to it. Allow that attention now to flow up your calves and into your knees. Allow this awareness to flow into your legs, top of your legs. And become aware that your legs are on a seat or on the floor. What does that feel like? Aware that you have bones in these legs. You have muscles attached to these bones. Allow that attention now to flow into your bum. Become aware of where your bum is sitting. Is it a hard surface? Is it a soft surface? Allow the awareness now to flow into your stomach. And just be aware of your stomach rising and falling as you breathe. Allow the attention now to flow from your stomach into your chest area. Just feeling your chest rise and fall as you breathe in and out of your body. Now let that feeling, whatever that is, go into your shoulders and into your biceps. From your biceps, it flows into your elbows, into your forearms, and then into your hands. Become aware of where your hands are. Maybe they're moving, maybe they're on your legs, maybe they're on your seat. Just become aware of that sensation. Allow the attention, that spotlight, let it flow from your hands into your forearms and your elbows, your biceps, shoulders, and your chest area. Let it flow now into your neck. From your neck, it flows into your jaw and your face, And as you breathe in, you become aware of your eyes and your eyelids. That then flows into the top of your head. Just become aware of the sensation at the top of your head. If you have hair, what does that feel like? If you don't, what does that feel like? What is that sensation for you? Maybe you have a hat on. And as you breathe, become aware of more of the sounds around you. And when you want to, you can open your eyes and bring yourself back into the room.
Thank you, Lee. Well, hopefully everyone enjoyed that or not. But that was the first part that we wanted to present in terms of you. So the psychological well-being starts with you guys, the self-awareness, and then practicing self-awareness with the use of mindfulness. But obviously mindfulness, it can be anything, you know, a practice or exercise that you can stop that thought, you know, thoughts going on all the time. For some people, it can be a run, you know, or reading a book. But it's a practice. It's a very important skill to practice and to, you know, to regularly practice on a weekly basis for you guys to be able to maybe identify, you know, your own psychological welfare. And if you are able to identify yourself, then hopefully you can maybe, you know, move to look after everyone else around you, to your workforce. So we've done a little bit, I'm mindful of time, but I think I want to present you a bit of a studies and findings regarding the workforce and the impact of, you know, how people feel in the workforce. So there were a big study done by Gallup and Workhuman just over a year ago, that they studied more than 12,000 employees across 12 countries. So indicated that employers lose approximately 20 million for every 10,000 workers experiencing poor mental health and driving workplaces. So 40% of employees report negative impact on their mental health due to their job in the last 6 months, and the burnt out employees are 63% more likely to be absent and 2 times as likely to seek new job opportunities. So there's a lot of people that potentially being unhappy or not looked after well. So the key, the research find that what can you do to improve people's mental health is the workers' appreciation. Are we next?
Yeah.
Yeah. So employee appreciation. So what is that? So, you know, if you invest in a way in any kind of a scheme of appreciating your employees. So employee needs, employee desire. So employees desire to feel valued, connected with co-workers and believe in the significance of the work. So strategic recognition is about any program that will recognize people and address people's needs, fostering the engagement and loyalty. And there are long-term benefits as well for organizations that can invest in employee appreciation experience. So people feel, and you know, looked after, engaged, and are more productive. So what is that? You know, how can you even do it? You know, we all can enter some programs and, you know, give people more money, but actually they find that the best way of appreciating people is to say thank you. Mm-hmm. A simple thank you. But, you know, you need to say thank you for, you know, appreciating people's personal life as well as achievements at work. Mm-hmm. You know, for that, you need to have an empathy and understand what's going on for people. And you might have the best environment, working environment already. And, you know, you might do nothing because you always have 2 options, right? Mm-hmm. You can do nothing. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it doesn't mean that your, you know, work environment is not working. It might be working at the moment, but you do nothing, you leave it, you don't invest. But you have to remember that there are always significant events happening to people, either to you or to others. You know, a death, an illness, a cataclysm, COVID. You know, there are things happening outside our remit, you know, outside our any control. So people will always change. That's what I'm trying to say. You will change. You will experience some sudden emotional distress, or people will. So by investing in people in that way, appreciating your employees, you definitely enhancing well-being, organizational strength, engagement, and productivity. So they find, again, those guys in the big studies, they find the employees at the organization with strategic recognitions are 73% less likely to feel burnt out, 5 times as likely to feel connected to company culture, 4 times as likely to be engaged in thriving working life, 44% less likely to seek job opportunities, and 4 times as likely to recommend their organization to others. And that's just by simply saying thank you and putting the employees first. Do we have anything else? So financial, right. So that's our last little slides, because obviously I think we are short on time.
Just on time. Yeah.
Just on time. So financial savings, that's probably important for you guys as well to know. You know, you invest in yourself first, so you kind of are developing the vocabulary, so you can understand the others. Then you invest in others in your company and in an appreciation scheme, whatever it is, you know, because there's so many different programs, but starting from that kind of appreciating people for what they're doing and for who they are. So the financial savings, investing in your employee recognition results in annual savings of $16.1 million for every 10,000 employees. That's in those studies. Daily impact translates to $44,000 in savings daily. And productivity boost, organizations with high employee engagement experience 10 times higher customer loyalty, 23% higher productivity, 18% higher profitability, and 18 to 43% less voluntary turnover. So I think that's really from us. So if you enjoyed, guys, we would like you guys to connect. If you would like to have a 30 minutes consultation to talk about either your mental health or your employees, or you would like just have a little free session, please connect. And I think all the details going to be emailed to you anyway later on.
Yes.
I think we'll be happy to take questions, I'm guessing.
Yes, yeah.
Over to Louis.
Thank you, Jagoda.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for this. So I've had some questions come in the chat.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so we've got an anonymous one. So do you think entrepreneurship is a form of addiction? And then it's a two-parter, because then it was followed by, but you know, they worried about being a workaholic and tying their self-worth to their success. The startup and neglecting their girlfriends and family and whatnot.
Yeah, you want to take it?
Yeah, I'll take it. Yeah, I mean, I think anything can become an addiction. You know, that's the thing.
It's important to what is addiction, because you've got behavioral addiction as well as
as a substance addiction. So you know what you said there, I think, was about self-worth. And valuing and working hard to achieve something as an entrepreneur and then getting self-worth from that. So I mean that can be quite challenging, and that can lead to addiction. Yeah. And I think the issue, the thing is, like, entrepreneurs on average, they work a lot. Yeah. You're working 60, 80, sometimes. I think Elon Musk works 100 hours a week on average, and he's obviously extremely successful. But I think you got to decide, it can become an addiction, and then, some of that behavior becomes maladaptive. So instead of, maybe seeing your kids for their birthday, you're at work, getting your partner, your husband or wife, seeing them for some special, you're at work. And, not going to the gym, not looking after yourself, you're at work. So after a period of time, that will have an impact on you, on your stress. And you can become addicted to those kind of behaviors, unfortunately. So I think, with my clients, because I do work with quite a few entrepreneurs, it's always about trying to find the balance, and also that depends on what you want. If, there's a very good quote by Stephen Covey, who was big in leadership in America. It's a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And in that book, he says, people climb the ladder of success only to find it's up against the wrong wall. So what you find sometimes is that you get these individuals who become very successful, and they get to this place where they have all these things, but they're very lonely. And, you know, the husband or the wife won't talk to them. The kids don't talk to them. They don't have any friends. Friends are more arranged the work and not real connection. Well, it's not that it's not real connection, but not friends per se. So I think it's something that you have to work, and you have to make a decision. Do you want to be an entrepreneur that's going to sacrifice a lot of different things, including your own well-being, or do you want to be an entrepreneur that has some balance in his or her life? And I think that's
where the self-awareness comes into
Yes.
it, you know. If you practice that self-awareness, you can take that step back and actually have a little view of yourself, you know. Am I kind of pushing too much
Yes,
at the moment, you know? Where am I, you know, in life? Am I achieved already, you know, what I wanted to achieve? So, yeah.
And I mean, definitely, I've worked with, you know, some people who, you know, complete workaholics. They'll sleep in the office, they won't shower, they'll be sitting there, you know, trading, buying, selling. It becomes a very sad state of existence, unfortunately, you know, which is very sad. Yeah. I hope I answered that question.
Yeah.
No, that was very good and insightful. I did have another one come in, another anonymous. So let's see. Any tips on engaging a friend or colleague who you see warning signs with to help them get help?
Is that to do with what in particular? Is that mental health or addiction or Louis?
They didn't specify.
Okay. So, yeah. So I mean, if it's mental health or addiction, I think the most important thing that I find with my clients is that they feel like they're very alone. It's a big theme that comes up. So they're not alone, and the important thing is to get support. So either seek a professional, you know, definitely seek a professional, perhaps go see your GP, and get some help. I think that's really important.
But I think it's very important also is to name certain things. If your friend is suffering in front of you, quite often, you know, we find it difficult to have that conversation, you know, to name, you know, I can see you suffering and I think you need help. And I think that conversation quite often is very difficult and challenging for us. You know, we don't have that vocabulary as a normal language, you know. Mental health is still taboo.
Yeah.
You know, and people struggling to name that. But I think to be brave enough to say, I can see you struggling, you know, and obviously there is a help. It's a step one, you know, to help someone.
Yeah, like you said, sit down, talk to them, say, look, I've noticed this, I've noticed that. You know, I'll go with you somewhere, I'll phone with you.
Yeah.
But the most important thing is to do something, is to act. Don't not act. Because if you don't do something, whatever is going on will get worse. And you know, unfortunately, at the moment, we have a very high case of like suicides in the country, which is very sad, which is part of the mental health, the addiction, unfortunately, which is untreated.
Absolutely, and I guess you can still see that it's quite taboo, judging by the DMs and people wanting to remain anonymous.
It's taboo, you know. I just think we work in the field of addiction. Even addiction now, you know, it's like, you know, how can you be an addict? But we know many people on very successful, functional addicts, you know, but people don't talk about this because it's you know, shameful. Shameful is to have you know, depression and anxiety. Unfortunately, there is a taboo, you know, and I think it's still happening. We need to talk more. This is just illness, you know. If you've got problem with your leg, you go into a doctor and it's fine.
Problem with your car, you get it sorted. Mental health, don't talk about that.
Yeah. So hopefully we can break some taboos at least.
Yes.
No, absolutely. I have another question here.
Okay.
What would be a good method to understand employee morale? And is it good to just ask?
Employee, or employer?
Employee morale.
Yeah.
Employee morale. Yes, employee morale.
But then you ask, well, how to understand? I think it's going back to culture, isn't it? What do you think?
Yeah, I think the second bit there is just, I think it is important just to ask. You know, I mean, like you'll see, you know, obviously top management, your CEOs, you know, they give you a vision and they want to move forward with the company, which they see fit. And then what will happen is they'll, especially with big companies, they'll have these ideas, which are good ideas, and they'll try to implement them lower down the chain, whatever that is. And when people try to implement, they actually don't work. You know, they don't work. The reason being is because the people at the top, you know, they have the vision, but they don't have the nitty-gritty, the little bits and pieces of what's going on. And I think, you know, if there was more communication from the top to the bottom, or within the management team, and especially the employees, you know, where they could have an open conversation about what's going on, you know, I think you would get the information that you need and then be able to support your employees moving forward. Yeah. You know, and I think, you know, we don't talk enough. We just don't.
We're not connected.
You know, we're not connected. We're connected to these, you know, all of us. Yeah. but we're not connected to each other, unfortunately, because we don't talk, you know.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's true. I think social media has affected how we all interact with each other. And spilled over to a lot of different areas, not just the work environment, sadly.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I've got another question here. It's what is the best method to have employees value their own mental health? Some may pass it off, but I know it's very important.
Sorry, Lou, I didn't hear the beginning bit.
So what is the best method to have employees value their own mental health? Some may pass it off, but I know it's very important.
Well, I think if you want your employees to value it, you need to value it. Yeah, you know what I mean? You know, it's pointless telling us you employees need to value your mental health, and then you know you're not doing it. So I think the way you show value is by showing what you were saying.
Yeah.
You know,
you start with yourself.
Start with yourself. You know, you be honest about what's going on. We're not saying that you have to, you know, tell them exactly what's going on. But you know, if you're having a bad day, if you have something going on, you start with you, and let that culture of having open conversations filter all the way through. Because and also you start looking after yourself. Be an example. You know, if you're going through some stuff, maybe you can share something as well. And I think, you know, a lot of, you know, especially the top management, they don't like to express what's going on really, because especially in this culture, it's seen as a sign of weakness. You know, and you know, a lot of captains sometimes in sport, I've seen it happen more and more. They'll say, "Yeah, I'm pretty scared today.
Yeah,
but I believe in my team. I believe that we can do it. And even though I have the fear, I'm gonna move through that."
Absolutely.
You know? And have open conversations, have open talks about what's going on, what mental health means to themselves, and how they can support themselves and their employees. I think is really important.
Well, and I suppose self-care, self-love can be quite hard for some people, because I think you know, people aren't particularly kind to themselves, especially with self-talk. So it's quite interesting.
That's why we were talking though, is a practice, you know, is a skill, but you need to learn that skill and you need to practice, you know, and the more you practice, the better you become. It is something that you need to learn. It doesn't, you know, people think there is something natural.
It's magical. Yeah.
But it's not natural. Yeah. I could not, 10 years ago, I could not sit down and do a mindfulness. No, a chance. And it's just, you know, you practice and you think this is not for me. No, but it is. Somehow you learn, and you can learn certain things, how to take care of yourself and how to love yourself.
Well, funny enough, you know, if you look at one of the questions here from another anonymous
okay.
I feel like I'm at a meeting.
Like,
yeah.
what about the feeling of constantly feeling not good enough, no matter how much you achieve, and pushing yourself harder, becoming a vicious cycle?
Yeah.
Almost like an element of imposter syndrome coming into this.
Yeah. Self-love, start practicing, whoever it is. You need to find a way to practice that. And I think that mindfulness, or wherever you find a way to improve, you know, the self-talk. And I think there are ways even, you know, I've worked with clients that I would ask them to write, you know, so there are ways to kind of improve of how can you work on yourself. So kind of a reflection and, you know, write a few words, good words, you know, towards the end of the day, what have you done good today? So it's kind of you learning to accept certain things because you're forced. Someone's telling you to do it. But there are ways that you can look at yourself better, you know, so there are ways to practice that self-love. What else can you do, you know? So writing down, you know, exercising like that, write down words, mindfulness.
Mindfulness, I mean, simple things like looking after your diet, exercise, you know, there's breathing techniques you can do, cold showers, which people do not like, but is very good. No, it's very good for your body.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
there's a massive hit of dopamine, 250% it goes up, and then it's a slow release going down. And also you do something that's quite challenging to do, you know, so you build some resilience to the world as well when you're out there. And you know, a lot of, you know, unfortunately, if individuals think that achieving things is going to make them feel better, you know, that's not it, you know. And it's about cultivating those good feelings inside, you know, even when things are not going so well, you know, and accepting that, you know, even though I don't feel so good, life is actually not that bad, because we can very easily, you know, get focused on, you know, all these things that we don't have, you know, or even when we have them, it's still not enough. You know, we have this more culture. You know, there's a book I was reading by Michael Neal. He's also a coach. He deals with something called the 3 principles, which supports people. And anyway, one of the people he was coaching, you know, he was like worth, I don't know, $500 million. And he said his problem was that he kept on thinking he was going to lose all his money. So even though he had all this money, the thought that was constant in his brain was, I'm going to lose it. I'm going to lose it. I'm going to lose it. And he couldn't be happy, you know, because money doesn't bring us happiness. We're very aware of that. And I've worked with people who have, you know, lots and lots of money, and, you know, the same issues affect them, affect us. There's no difference.
Actually, it was quite interesting what you said about the cold showers. Would the same effect come with an ice bath? Or is it
same
different
thing.
because it's
Same thing. It just, some people can't have ice baths.
Yeah.
So cold showers, you know, in the winter is just as good. You know what I mean? If not
Well,
better.
it's about dopamine release.
It's about
you know?
dopamine release.
Yeah.
And there's other chemicals as well that really, it's not just, there's a whole change in the brain and the liver. There's a whole lot of things that happen, which they've proven now, which are really, really positive for the body and the mind, especially with people with depression.
Yeah.
So very, very good.
Oh, for sure. I've got another question here. It's what is the best method to have employees value their own mental health? Some may pass it off, but oh no, sorry, it's tech startup founder. How can I make sure my team takes care of their well-being? We work from home, and I tried asking team members to schedule some time for themselves, but it doesn't work most of the time.
Good one.
I'm wondering why it doesn't work though. Is that because they have too much work to do? I mean, I think it always comes down to that. You know what I mean? Unfortunately or fortunately, is that, you know, we all have deadlines. You have work. You know, you want to make it a success. You know, there's long hours and that kind of stuff. But also, you know, like maybe the people at the top need to show that they're going to take some time and be that example. And then maybe instead of getting it done like within a week, maybe it's a week in a day or a week in 2 days, you know, because I think you have to find a balance. You can't have everything. You can't have, you know, the cake and eat it too. Unfortunately, you have to find a balance of people, of your employees and yours, because it's both, you know, of your well-being, your mental health, and what you want to do with the work. And what I found is that, you know, if I look at, you know, the entrepreneurs that I work with, when they're more leveled out, they perform better. They're happier.
And
their families are happier. Their teams are happier. They're not micromanaging. They're able to let things go a lot easier. They're just in a better place, you know. And I think you have to find
with you.
Yeah, you got to find that balance. You have to practice and find that balance for yourself. And that'll hopefully reverberate back into your company and your employees. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. I've got another question here. So if you are a co-founder, what's the best method to have your founder value employee mental health, given that sometimes, if possible, the co-founder does not have the final say in many things? Asking for a friend. Smiley wink.
Oh wow, yeah.
I think if you look, like, show them the dollar signs. You know what I mean? I mean, like we've shown some. No, we've shown some research here. You know,
Yeah.
and you need to show them research and show what the benefits are, because there are financial implications. You know,
Of course.
I mean, I think mental health in the UK, it costs something like 117
This is ridiculous.
billion
Yeah.
pounds every year. That's the cost, you know. And the thing is, if individuals can get support a bit quicker, a bit sooner, they have the right support, they're not so stressed out, that makes people happier and they are more productive, period.
Prevention is always much cheaper, guys.
It's much better because, you know, what happens is people get really burnt out. And then the thing is, you don't just bounce back from a burnout, because I've worked with a number of clients with burnouts and they don't bounce back. It's not like they go back to, I worked with someone in South Africa, actually, you know, he was like 55, he wanted to retire, you know, just like 57, he'd been working for the last 10 or 15 years, like 12-hour days.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happened? He just stopped. He stopped. He couldn't get up. He used to love going to work. He was in sales. He loved everything. And then he just couldn't do it anymore for a period of time. And he already had to take a step back and look after himself, you know.
Also, I was reading in that research that I've included, guys. There's lots of more materials that you can do your own research. That every lost employee costs you at least 2 months of their salary to be replaced. So anyone, if you lose someone to burnout, it will cost you at least twice for minimum 2 months, you know. So the cost is always, there's a big implication in the money if you don't take care of your staff, basically. So the culture of appreciation and, you know, the retention to how to keep people in, you know, is based in a, you know, taking care of people's mental health and well-being. And how can you make everyone's happy? You know, what we're trying to say is, like, you start with yourself, take care of yourself, and then, you know, that will be then, you know, assimilated to other level, hopefully, hopefully to co-founders as well.
Also, just because individuals work longer hours doesn't mean they're more productive. You know, I mean, if you look at economics, you have, you know, the law of diminishing returns.
Yeah.
You have so many resources, you got so many outputs, and that'll be it. You know what I mean? You have to stop at some level. And the thing is, if your employees they have a lot of deadlines, they're very stressed out, eventually they will burn out.
No, yeah.
You know, and then they won't just bounce back again. It'll take a period of time to get back where they wanted to go. When it doesn't have to be like that, really. You know, I suppose it's just part of this instant culture that we have. You know, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's true, because everyone wants everything now.
Yeah.
Yesterday,
like,
the day before, last year, who knows? You know?
Yeah, pretty much. You could, like, now you can have like same day delivery, right?
Yeah.
So which is quite
well,
interesting.
that's the culture. Fast food culture, yeah, instant.
You can get anything delivered now. It's a bit insane. Yeah. Anything online you can buy. It's crazy.
It started with social media.
Yeah.
Someone did add to the chat. So Lamrin, if incarnation is a fact of life, so each one of you were my mum, practicing care for others, reflecting over time to myself. It is challenging. You begin to face yourself, negativity, self-awareness from the first day.
So is that a question or just a comment?
It's a comment.
I think it's a quote.
Yeah,
So,
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is quite
Amir,
cool, yeah.
it would be great to like get some more context to this.
Yeah. Please join in, guys. It's a good one. No.
Yeah, that's interesting. Buddhism from Israel, by the way.
Yeah.
Thanks,
nice.
Amir.
Thank you.
That was quite interesting. Does anyone else have any other question? Oh, actually, I've got one here. So let's see. What does it say? Okay. Any recommendations for adult ADHD? I find because of the fast pace of work, I can't do slow activities like reading a book for fun. And even at work, I want to check my phone or emails when I need to focus on a project.
Wow, I think with ADHD, I think we all heard recently that there's in some places 10 years of waiting list to be assessed. In our clinic, I've got one of the doctors that is actually does do assessment. So it depends if you're looking for the assessment, like a clinical assessment, then that things are available. Or are we talking about like a neurodivergent, you know, of how can you manage yourself better? And I think there are two different ways, like psychologically and medically, you're looking differently at ADHD those days. So I think it depends that person.
Yeah, I mean, mindfulness and meditation
Yeah.
are very good as well for individuals with
Yep.
ADHD. And also there's neurofeedback,
Mm.
which they can utilize as well, which is ways you can retrain your brain.
Mm.
And there are a lot of actually home units they have at the moment. And also you can do neurofeedback in clinics. In the
So
UK
that
as well.
the like a neuro assessments that you can do it just to see where you are on a spectrum in a way. There's then medically assessed, you know, condition ADHD. So I think it depends where you are. Which way? Yeah. Because it's and I'm gonna stress the ADHD, if you're going for a medical assessment, is very, very expensive.
Yeah.
But it's available at our clinic.
No, for sure. You know what I find helps? Going to the gym.
Of course.
Yeah.
It kind of
does.
like helps you be focused.
But that's the part of the mindful, in a way, what we said mindfulness. The moment that when you switch off, you know. So we all find some exercise or practice, you know, that works for us. That time that you can just stop thinking. And maybe gym, it works for many people. It does, you know, when you can completely switch off and do something else from your daily
You switch off,
routine.
and it's also like you get on a natural high, which is quite
Endorphins.
powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
So and afterwards, the funny thing is, you feel like you can focus even more. I mean, that's why sometimes I actually favor doing it first thing in the morning, because then it just sets the tone for the rest of your workday.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone in the audience finds the same thing, but yeah, that's something that I find, which is quite interesting.
Yeah. You are gym goer as well. Yeah.
A bit of gym guy, yes.
But it's cool. Right. I guess does anyone else have any more questions before we wrap up? Lee, Alex, Bethany, maybe? Oh, we've got one. Let's see. Oh, physical exercise and running is what is my zen. Okay. Thanks, Leon.
Oh, that's a self-awareness to identify. Yeah, very good, guys. It is. Be self-aware and practice.
No, this is very cool. All right. Well, I guess we've run out of questions, guys. I just want to say thank you so much for joining us this evening and you know, such short notice and doing this talk. This is much appreciated. We've got lots of thank yous coming in, guys. Thank you. That was
guys.
great.
I hope you enjoyed it.
Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for asking us. We really appreciate it. And hopefully we can be of service later on or something.
Yeah.
Don't forget to scan the QR codes, guys. And you know, if you found this chat very helpful.
for the chat.
And I mean, you've got the contact details here on the screen, so feel free to get in touch with the guys, with Lee and Jagoda, and I'm sure you guys will. I will be looking forward to your next webinar.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, great.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for having us, guys.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good evening and a good 2024.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.